Narcissistic parents or toxic parents rarely ever recognize their grown adult children as adults. And of course, if you're new here, I'm actually a clinically diagnosed narcissist. If you have a parent that is highly narcissistic or toxic or is an actual narcissist, you know exactly what I mean when I say they will never ever see you as an adult in their eyes. To them, you will always be their child, and to them, you will always owe them a debt. Like narcissistic parents, a lot of them feel like you owe them a debt for being born, for being raised, for the sacrifices that they made to give you everything that you have. They feel like your life is a loan that you will spend the rest of paying them back, like you owe me. So I can't see you as an adult. I always see you as my little child that owes me respect and owes me their life. No matter how old you are, you can be in your 50s and they can be in their 60s or 70s and still look at you as a child. Toxic, narcissistic parents rarely ever give their adult children the respect that they deserve.
All right, we're back, Jack, talking about narcissistic parents. Toxic parents are detrimental to a child's mind, and what you experience as a child impacts you for your whole life. I've discovered that toxic parents will be like, well, that happened X, Y, and Z ago. That happened so long ago. Why are you still upset about it? They're still upset about it. Maybe because it's still happening, or, like and then sometimes they'll say, oh, you're holding a grudge. Or am I holding you accountable? Is there a difference between grudge holding and accountability? Let's just keep it real. And, narcissistic parents are ridiculous. I'm just going to be honest. I had a parent one time tell me flat out, while we were on good terms, by the way, we were literally on good terms. And this particular parent told me if they never spoke to me again, if they never saw me again, they would not care. It would not make a difference in their life. I will never forget that. And you know what? They got their wish because to this day, we do not speak. So let's keep going and see other people's experience.
You have a narcissistic parent. What was the weirdest tantrum?
I lived at home until I was 29. I'm 36 now. And this is the tantrum that finally gave me the courage to leave. Now, mind you, the goalpost as to when I could finally move out was constantly moved. For example, I wasn't allowed to move out for college because my parents didn't have any money. And then when I actually had money as a nurse, then it was, oh, you can't move out. Your dad doesn't have stable employment. You need to stay to help us with rent. But as I made more money as a nurse and as I became more independent, they became extra controlling and abusive. And my dad would force me to let him do my taxes so he can keep tabs on how much I'm making. Anyway, so one weekend I decided to go on a 2-night trip to San Diego. And I just go with one of my friends. This is just a routine trip from LA to San Diego, because we both had friends over there that we wanted to visit. But on the drive back home to my parents, I feel this very eerie silence. I hadn't really heard anything from my parents. It's that kind of silence where you know something's waiting for you when you get home. I returned home on a Sunday night at 9 p.m. and my mom is drilling me with questions. Why didn't you send photos of your trip? How are we supposed to know you weren't lying about where you said you were? How do we know you weren't out drinking? And mind you, I've never had a sip of alcohol in my life. So I stopped my mom. I said, I'm a grown woman. I don't owe you photos of where I am all the time. She said, you're not a grown woman. You're just a girl. And I said, I bet you don't say that when rent is due. Anyway, my mom gets so angry, she takes a wooden chair and she throws it at me. And for once, I do not credit my dad for this, but he stood up for me and said, why are you talking to our daughter like this? And then my mom goes into a narcissistic rage. She starts hitting herself because how dare my dad ever try to defend me? She starts hitting herself, threatens that she's going to call the police and tell them that I'm abusing her. I still can't fully describe what I felt in that moment, but all I saw was the chains come off of me. I could no longer see them as people that I have to keep sacrificing myself for. They make their way upstairs. Luckily, I still had my bags packed. I haven't even really taken off my shoes. I take my keys. I exit very quietly. I run to my car. And I call up my friend. I said, hey, I need your sofa. My mom just got violent. At this time, it's 11 o'clock on a Sunday night. I get to her house. My mom starts calling me incessantly. I don't answer, but she starts leaving very rabid voicemails. She was saying things like, if you don't come home right now, I will show up at your work and I will make sure you get fired because you need to learn that you are nothing without me. I am the reason you have any money. I am the reason you have a job. And I will make sure that you understand I have the power to take that away anytime. And that's just a brief synopsis of what she was saying. I would play these voicemails to my therapist later, and she cried. And honestly, I have a lot of stuff blocked out. All I knew in that moment was that I had to act and protect my job. Because at this time, I was 2 months away from finishing my NP. I could not lose my only source of income, so I had to call my job. I had to call the night shift nurse and tell her that I think my mom might be having a psychotic break, and she's making threats to show up at my job, so please blacklist her. And these are night shift nurses, okay? I felt humiliated that I had to even say this to them because I know they were gonna gossip. But I went to work the next day. I barely slept. None of the nurses asked anything. My manager asked if I was okay, and she let me go home early. In retrospect, I probably should have called out sick, but when something like that happens, you really try to hold on to whatever sense of normalcy and schedule you have. As soon as I came back to my friend's apartment, I crashed for the next 12 hours. I didn't have time to process. My friend just helped me start looking for apartments. I've been no contact 5 years, and that situation was not even the final breaking point that would lead to our estrangement.
Narcissistic parents set their children up for failure. When you are raised by narcissistic parents, or parents in my case, because both my parents were narcissists, you are taught from a very young age that your thoughts, feelings, emotions, and boundaries are invalid, and that the most important thing for you to do is to keep the narcissist happy. In my situation, my father showed more narcissistic traits than my mother, but eventually, due to the fact that she was just a victim for so long and she never got help, she started picking up the narcissistic traits as well. And what people don't talk about is the fact that being raised by narcissists and witnessing that type of abuse from the time that you are a child to the time that I'm 27 years old, you know what I'm saying? And from the time that I was a child, it was literally embedded in my mind that, don't rock the boat, don't upset the narcissist. Whatever you do, don't piss dad off. Even if that includes, speaking up for your own self in situations that you feel are unfair. So when you are raised to think like that and act like that, and you're taught from a very young age that your experiences and your thoughts and your boundaries and your traumas do not matter. The only thing that matters is keeping the narcissist happy so that there's peace in the house. Nobody talks about how that fucks you up mentally, growing up and as an adult. Nobody talks about the fact that when you are raised by narcissists, you have zero conflict resolution skills. So for a long time, when people would disagree with me or when they would say something that I didn't like, my first instinct was violence or just to cuss them out, when that's not even how you handle a situation where somebody is saying something that you don't want to hear. Nobody talks about how when you are raised by narcissists from a very young age, you are gaslit and you're told that your thoughts, your feelings, your opinions, they don't matter, or they're just not real. And so you learn to ignore your intuition and your gut feeling because you don't even think that what you're feeling is real and accurate. Nobody talks about how when you are raised by a narcissist, and most times narcissists are also physically abusive, nobody talks about how when you are raised that way, how you become a target for other narcissistic and abusive men because they see it on you that you're used to a certain type of treatment from a man. So they think that they could just come in your life and treat you however because they see what you're used to and what you're used to accepting from guys. When you are raised by a narcissist, people don't understand how hard dating can be because you have been taught from a very young age, again, that your boundaries are invalid, your thoughts are invalid, your feelings are invalid. So when you go throughout your life and you're choosing partners, you're not even picking up on red flags or shit that should be a red flag because to you, this type of horrible treatment is just fucking normal. It's normal. Like, why would I be shook that a guy put his hands on me when that's what my dad used to do? You know what I'm saying? Why would I think that it's a red flag for a guy to yell at me when that's how I'm used to my dad talking to me or talking to my mom? You know what I'm saying? Or my sister. Nobody talks about how when you're raised by a narcissist, how hard dating or even having friends is, because not only have you been gaslit to the point where you don't trust yourself, but you're also hyper vigilant. You're super paranoid of everybody and their intentions. And so you can't even, it feels like you can't even have a peaceful, loving, trusting relationship with another person because you're too scared, literally too scared to trust them, or you always think somebody's out to get you, or it's just always paranoia. Even when that person hasn't given you any reason not to trust them, you're hyper vigilant and you're paranoid and you just can't trust anybody. Nobody talks about the imposter syndrome and how you start to diminish your accomplishments, or you don't even think that you've made any accomplishments because you're used to a narcissist or a narcissistic parent telling you constantly that what you have done or what you're doing is not enough. So that can definitely translate over into your life as an adult. Like, you'll start thinking that little shit that you have done isn't even important. The whole time you're out here moving and shaking and building a life for yourself, and you're not even celebrating yourself because you haven't been taught to. Nobody talks about how when you were raised by a narcissist, how you're literally forced to walk on eggshells for so long. You don't want to do anything to piss the narcissistic parent off, because you know if you do that, it's going to be hell for the rest of the day. Nobody talks about how being raised like that causes you to act like that with other people. And you'll notice over time you begin to shrink yourself smaller and smaller and smaller because you don't want to disturb the peace. You don't want to rock the boat, because that's the number one thing in a narcissistic household is don't piss the narcissist off. Nobody talks about how it takes you forever to start having boundaries and to start sticking up for yourself and to start standing up for yourself because you've never seen it done. Narcissists don't stand up for their victims. Your narcissistic parents don't stand up for their children. So when you come from a household where you grow up and shame and guilt and fear is just fed to you on a daily basis, you become a shameful, guilty type of person. And then if your parents were extra heinous with it like mine was, they will use religion and Christianity to back up their antics. And when parents do stuff like this, nobody talks about how that fucks up the child's relationship with God. I'm 27 years old. I have a lot of shit to learn. I have a lot of shit to unlearn. But one thing that I do know for an absolute and complete fact is that when I have my kids, I really want to make sure that I am in the best position holistically, like not just financially, not just you know what I'm saying, as far as like my career and everything like that. I want to be a whole person before I decide to bring another child into this world, because what I do not want to do is what my parents did to me, which is raise a child based off of the traumas that I have had and the shit that I have had to go through, and pass that shit on to my child who does not deserve it. I refuse to set my future kids up for failure because I didn't want to heal and learn and grow. And I just feel like when you don't do that, you do your child a disservice, because you're not even raising them when you're the best version of yourself. And some people don't even realize how important this is. Some people do realize how important this is, and they still don't want to take the necessary steps to heal. Healing is not easy, trust me. Like, I understand that. But when you have a child, bro, you really have to be careful what type of messages you are programming into that child's mind. You have to be careful what type of shit you're programming into your child's mind, because when they go out into the world and they're on their own, it's gonna reflect. Like, everything that you taught them and programmed into their mind is gonna reflect. And right now, I'm 27. I'm in a good headspace. You know what I'm saying? Shit is good for me right now. But I had to go through a lot of shit. And a lot of the shit that I went through could have been avoided if my parents were actually, you know what I'm saying, were not narcissistic, and they actually prepared me to be a citizen in this world instead of being a pawn for them. I had to learn a lot of shit. I had to learn how to stop people pleasing. I had to learn conflict resolution. I had to learn how to stop being so hyper vigilant and paranoid. I'm still working on that to this day. But I really just want to put this message out there for anybody having kids, thinking about having kids. Like, please make sure you get your mind right before you bring a child into this world. Because it's really unfair to bring a child into this world knowing that you aren't even the best version of yourself. Because in the long run, everybody suffers, especially the child.
She is so right, because when you have a narcissistic parent, it's like everything involves making them feel okay. And your boundaries, not only are your boundaries tested, but you like almost get punished for having boundaries. Or what I've also discovered with parents with narcissistic tendencies, it's like when you call them out on it, it's like, wait a minute, why are you calling me out? It's like you're the bad one for noticing the behavior, not that they're the bad one for actually doing the behavior. It's like, I can't believe you would call me out on my BS. Like, what are you doing? Why can't you just let me attack you? Why can't you just let me be mean to you? Like, who do you think you are to call me out on it? And then they'll flip it, and it's like, oh, well, no, that's not actually how it happened. And you're like, wait a minute, like, I was there too, and I remember what happened, and this is my version of events. And then they'll be like, oh, no, that's not what happened. This is what happened. And it's like, wait a minute, but I was there. So I think that not only does it make your boundaries mess up, but it kind of like gaslights you into thinking maybe you're crazy. Like, am I tripping? And then the last thing I noticed about toxic parents is that they will go to the ends of the earth to protect their lie. They will go to the ends of the earth to make other people think that you're crazy. Maybe there's something wrong with you and all these things, but really maybe there's something wrong with the parent in the situation. So I just think it's important to be mindful, be aware, stay clear, and know, like, if you had a narcissistic parent, you're going to have a long time of healing, but you're valid. We see you, we recognize you. And as someone, and my parents will even admit that they had and are going through and healing from narcissistic tendencies just because of their own personal upbringings as well. It doesn't mean that, my parents are evil or anything like that. And thankfully, I have not had experiences like some of these people have, but I have had some, interesting experiences that I think, had my parents been older and healed a bit more before they had me, we wouldn't have had, some of the struggles. So anyway, with that being said, let's keep going.
I quite literally feel bad for children who have parents who actually regret having them, because, and I'm not saying that it's not normal to have those feelings. I've had these feelings surface, but you have to learn to cope with them, and you have to learn to do something about it to, what's the word I'm looking for? To resolve them. Like, you can't live with those feelings. You can't suppress those feelings and do absolutely nothing about it, because it is going to show up in your parenting. It is going to show up in the way you treat your children. It is going to show up in the way that you are able to love your kids. And kids are not fucking stupid. Kids are not stupid. Kids understand a lot more than we think. They just perceive the world a little differently than we do, because they don't understand the constructs and the rules and dynamics of everything. But like I said, they're not stupid. Children are very intuitive. They know when the adults around them do not like them, and then they internalize those feelings. And I really feel bad when parents have those feelings and they do nothing to resolve them, because like I said, the child is who feels it the most. And as a parent who has had those feelings surface, the way I cope with it is I have to remind myself that I chose to bring these children here. I love my children, and that it is my job to protect them. It is my job to teach them to be good people. I don't want my children to grow up and be the people that hurt people who just walk through life not giving a fuck about anybody but themselves. I don't want my children to grow up like that. And you have to also tell yourself that feeding into those feelings are not serving you. Those feelings are not serving you. They are harming you, and they are harming your children. And you have to try to catch those feelings before they turn into hate and resentment for your kids, because like I said, they will feel it. They will feel it. Like, I really feel so bad for people who have children, like, not the people. I feel bad for the children of people who never really wanted kids, or the people of children who walk into parenthood with this idea that it's going to be rainbow and sunshines, and then when it's not rainbows and sunshine, they blame the kid. It's not your kid's fucking fault. You are the parent. It's like people forget that they're the literal fucking adult, and this is a child that they are responsible for. And like, you cannot be mad at your child for being a fucking child. You have to remind yourself you are the adult. It is so important that before you have children, that you have the emotional intelligence to understand that. Like, it's more than being able to financially afford children before you have children. You need to be able to emotionally and mentally afford those kids, or the kids are going to suffer. I don't give a fuck about how you're suffering. You brought them here. Them babies did not ask to be born to a parent who is going to treat them like shit because the parent can't handle having a kid. Okay? And I really admire people who decide that they don't want to have kids because they're not blaming a child for their reasoning. They understand that they themselves cannot handle a child. And I admire that. I admire that because being a parent truly is not for everybody. And some people really think it's just about the finances when it's really not. It's really a lot more than that.
The narcissists do not love their children. They do not love their children. Remember, I said that the narcissist does not love anyone. The narcissist does not even love themselves. They have no ability to love. They don't love. They transact. A lot of their relationships are transactional. So they get things out of their relationships. And having children is just one of those things. The narcissists never ever love their children. I don't care how good they fake it. I don't care how they're on social media with the cameras and faking it. They do not love their children. I saw this firsthand. Living with a narcissist who had 2 children by a woman who he basically sent to a crazy psych ward facility. Okay? Not literally, but I saw it firsthand. So I know what I'm telling you. And through doing these videos and even being a nurse and dealing with a lot of people who have dealt with a lot of narcissists, the worst thing you can do for yourself is have a child or children by the narcissist. The narcissist does not love their children. The narcissist uses their children as weapon. The narcissist will use the fact that they have a child or children with you to control you, to punish you, to just be evil to you. They'll also use the children to punish you. They will also punish the children. See, these people are dark. They are dark. If you have children with the narcissist, please comment down below so that people don't think I'm crazy. I've seen this firsthand. I never had a child by my narcissist. Thank the Lord, because of what I saw, because of how he treated his children. Because of how he treated the mother of his children. And this can go both ways, for men and women. But I'm a woman, so I always speak from my perspective. The narcissist does not love their children. They weaponize the children, and they also punish the children. And because they don't love the mother or the father of that child, they will punish both parties. So when you see the narcissist posting pictures and videos of the children, it's because of their public image. They want people to think that they love those children. Because the narcissist's public image is everything to them. So they have to be well-rounded, right? If they're married to their supply, who they have the children with, you will see that they don't do anything for those children. The mother does everything for those children. But once in a while, they'll post pictures of the children so that the world can see and say, wow, such a beautiful father. Wow, such a beautiful mother. They weaponize the children. And Lord forbid, if you have children by the narcissist and you're not with them, they will use those children to punish you, and they will weaponize those children. They will triangulate. If there's two kids, they'll put the kids against each other. They'll love bomb one kid to make the other kid feel bad, and they'll love bomb this kid to make the other one feel bad. They'll act like they love this kid more than the other kids so that the other kid can fall in line and show more love to them, because remember, they love supply, so they'll get it where they can get it. That's one of the reasons, again, I tell you guys that a lot of the narcissists or down low, they struggle with their sexuality because they just want supply. It doesn't matter. Doesn't matter where they get it from. They want supply. So they want supply from a total stranger. They want supply from their own children. They want supply from their partners. And they want supplies from everywhere, everybody. So the narcissist, kids for them is just another form of supply. I can't talk. Kids for the narcissist is just another form of supply. It's also another weapon for them. So they'll triangulate the kids against each other. They'll also do that with the parents. So again, Lord forbid, if you're not with this narcissist and you have to do co-parenting, it is the worst experience ever. I've seen it firsthand. They will talk a lot of mess about you in front of the children, to the children, so that the children can hate you. They will act like they're the best parents. They will act like they are the best, they love the kids the best. They will act like, they will do a lot of mean and evil things in front of those children to try to weaponize them against you. The narcissist does not love their children. Whatever you see on social media is fake. They don't have the ability to love. So they cannot love their children. And that's why I said in my last video, if you can help it, do not have children with these people. If you can help it, if you're in that situation and maybe they're telling you that if they had children, it would change them. No, it's just another way to trap you and further punish you. Don't do it if you can help it. And if you have been dealing with a person like this who's you just don't understand what's going on, they're mean, they take the kids, they talk a lot of mess about you to the kids, they are not showing up for the kids, they're not doing like the school activities, they're not doing the school runs, they're not going to the doctor's appointments, they're not buying food for the kids, they're not doing anything for the kids at all. It's to punish you. Not only that, you also see, as they're acting like this, they're showing a whole different picture to friends and family. That's to punish you. And the older the kids get, they're going to punish the kids too. They're not going to love those kids. They're going to use the kids. Let me tell you this. The narcissists even use the kids to get new supply. That's what happened in my case. I already had a child. The narcissist had 2 children. The narcissist showed me how much they loved their kids, that made me have respect for them. That made me feel like I was in a safe space, because knowing and seeing how much they loved their kids, they were going to love my kid too. I was surprised at what I saw. Not only did he make the kid's mother's life a living hell, by bringing a revolving door of women in those kids' lives, but he also didn't give a flying F about those kids. Those kids were hungry when they came over. Those kids didn't have school supplies when they came over. Those kids were living in the worst situations when they came over. Those kids were going to school late when they came over. Those kids, their after school programs were not being paid for when they came over, because it was 1 week on, 1 week off with the kid's mother. Those kids had the worst experience when they were with their father versus when they were with their mother. I saw that firsthand. He weaponized the kids. He talked a lot of mess about the kids. Him and his family talked a lot of mess about the kid's mother in front of the kids, hoping to turn their mother. And these are kids who go to their mom the very next week. It was the craziest thing. These kids had to go and deal with their mother and be with their mother the very next week. So how can you talk about their mother in this way? How can you say these things about their mother in this way in front of them? That's trauma for the kids. And I would also see that he would triangulate the two kids. Like I said, today he's loving this kid more than the other kids, which make the other kid fall in line and, you know, seek their approval and want to be such a good kid and just want that love that they're not getting from the father. And the next week, it's the other kid. It's so traumatizing. It's so evil. It's just, if you can help it, I'm telling you this, as someone who's seen it, as someone who dodged it, don't have kids by these people if you can help it. It's not going to change them. The narcissists will never change because they truly believe that they don't have a problem, so they'll never change. So if you can help it, don't have kids by them, because it's only going to be a punishment for not just you, but for those kids. Those kids will be traumatized for the rest of their lives from the experiences that they're going to have with this narcissistic parent. Follow for more.
Your parents deserve consequences for abusing you. And when I say abuse, I'm talking about your entire childhood and continuously throughout your adulthood. Please understand that this is not a one-time incident. You know, we can extend our parents grace when they fuck up from time to time. But if you have parents, mom or dad, and they have consistently abused you mentally, psychologically, sexually, financially, emotionally, then you were raised by two narcissistic individuals who were highly toxic, extremely sadistic. They knew what they were doing, and they did it with full intent to fuck your childhood up. So here's the real question, y'all. Knowing that your parents are abusive and narcissistic, and knowing that despite you giving them 1,000,001 chances to correct their behavior, and they refuse to correct their behavior, they refuse to go to therapy, whether it's individual therapy to work on themselves or whether it's family therapy where you all can come together and heal your family trauma, childhood trauma, whatever issues or baggage that you have as a family. If your parents are not willing to do individual or family counseling or therapy, and you know that they're stuck being comfortable in their own dysfunction, they're never going to change, then you must do the unthinkable. Your parents should be issued severe consequences for the way they have treated you and their inability to change their behaviors. That doesn't mean that you can stop loving them, and you absolutely can forgive them. However, there must be severe consequences issued to both of them for the damage they've caused you. You are now in therapy trying to clean your life up from the damage and the pain and trauma they've inflicted onto you, and it's not fair. It's not fair that your relationships and friendships have all suffered due to the fact that you were raised by two abusive people who taught you to jump in toxic relationships and toxic friendships. Your parents have created a pattern in your childhood, and that's the only pattern that you know, and that's why you jump from one toxic romantic relationship to the next. That's why your friendships have been all toxic, because everyone that you've chosen to get in a relationship or friendship with all have the same behaviors and personality types as your narcissistic mother and father. And you have to break that pattern. And the only way that you can break that pattern is to cut off your parents. That's how you deal with the root of your issues. And you go to therapy. So what type of consequences do you give a narcissistic mother and father who refuse to change their behavior who refuse to, do anything to rectify the situation. They lack accountability. They're fucking delusional. They just will not address their toxicity no matter how many chances you give them. How do you issue consequences when your parents won't change? You have to cut them off. You have to accept them the way that they are, but you don't have to deal with them ever again. And just because you forgive them, forgiveness does not mean that you have to interact with them. Forgiveness does not mean that you have to attend family functions where you have to see them. You can truly stay away from family functions, that family reunion, that family cookout, birthday parties, weddings, funerals. You don't have to attend family functions. You cut your parents off and you move on and you do better in life. You go to therapy and learn how to become a better person, be better than your parents. So that when someday you become a parent yourself, you will raise your children up in a healthy environment. You will use the lessons based off how your parents raised you, and you will choose to do better than both of them. But you understand that you cannot change and heal from the damage that they caused until you cut them both off permanently. That means they cannot call you. You change your phone number. They cannot have no access to you. You have to look at your parents as a demonic entity. And they will use whatever portal they can to stay in contact with you, to stay connected to you, so that they can forever inflict their demonic energy onto you since they refuse to change. They cannot have access to your social media. They cannot text or call you, email you. You got to shut it down, even if it means getting a restraining order to make them respect your fucking boundaries. And also the family members that continue to support your parents and try to pass messages to you, they got to be shut down too. You're not playing no fucking games with your family when they're committed to being dysfunctional and supporting your abusive parents. And just know your parents also have never protected you from other bullies and other predators. If you were sexually molested and your mother and father didn't defend you or protect you, that's another reason you should cut their motherfucking asses off. They don't want you to heal because they benefit off of you being broken, because they're committed to staying broken and dysfunctional. Therefore, you have to cut your parents off. And that's how you issue them consequences. You let them sit in their own shit and think about the pain and trauma they've caused you. And the fact they have no more access to you and they gotta die knowing that you've turned your back on them. And God will deal with them. That's their punishment and that is their consequence for abusing you. Y'all have a blessed day.
I wanted to close off with this particular lady because I be seeing her videos all the time on topics like this. And, it's right. I think that you have to give everybody that disrespects you has to feel a consequence. It doesn't matter. And like for me, I had a fear of abandonment. So I would especially when I'm used to be dating people, I wouldn't uphold the full boundary because I'm like, well, what if you leave, or what if I bring it up and then it turns into an argument? So I would kind of hold it, but I wouldn't forget it. And then at some point I would just explode. So that would either mean I would go off and, kind of lose my temper. But as I got older, I wouldn't necessarily lose my temper. I would use vengeance. And I would be like, oh, because I would remember every single infraction. I just might not have responded. So I would get to the point where I felt like I was pushed off the edge. And in my mind, it was valid because, well, you were doing all this stuff. I was trying to give you a chance to turn back and you kept going. So now you're going to have to see, what crazy is. But now I know that that's a waste of time. And prevention is easier than adjusting. So now, as much as possible, even when I feel uncomfortable, I will express my displeasure and be like, hey, that's not going to work for me. Or, hey, I don't like this. Or I'm not rocking with that. Yada, yada, yada. And that's actually been paying off really well in my life now. And sometimes it is uncomfortable to say, hey, I'm not rocking with what you're putting down right now. I don't like it. But I would do it over and over and over again, because now with boundaries, I have a lot less stress. I even set boundaries at work. Okay? Period. All right. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you have a narcissistic parent, know you're not alone. You know, you're not the only person out here dealing with this, but you can heal from it and make a better life for yourself. And if you have children or not, you know, you can make a better life for yourself and a better life for those around you. I always tell myself and the children I work with and anybody around me, be who you wish you had, not who you needed protecting from. And with that being said, I'll see you in the next video.